What's up, humans, and welcome to Comics with Steve. Today we are starting a new series called Marvelous Displays of Power, where I'm going to be covering some of the most insane feats ever accomplished in Marvel Comics history. And in honor of this being the first episode of MDP, we're going to be covering 2 Marvelous Displays of Power. So if that seems like something you're interested in, and you're into all things pop culture, including comics, gaming, and reaction videos, consider subscribing and sticking around because we got a lot more coming to the channel. So without further ado, let's get in. With a flash of light, a large object crashes into what is known as the Great Ring. As Cable, Magneto, and the other mutants pick themselves up, a voice speaks out. Mutants of Mars, I am Uranos. You have deviated excessively, and I have 1 hour to correct you. These are the words that precede one of the most marvelous displays of power ever seen in Marvel Comics. Uranos, grandfather of Thanos, is about to destroy 98% of mutant life on Mars. Now we gotta go back for a second so I can explain what's going on for those of you who haven't been following the recent events of Marvel Comics. First of all, who even is Uranos? Back in 2022, the Eternals had a storyline going on where Thanos was the leader of the Eternals. In a one-shot called The Heretic, Thanos gets to meet his grandfather, or grand-uncle. I don't really know, it's kind of confusing. So if you didn't know, Thanos is an Eternal. He just has a deviant gene, which is why he looks the way he does. Uranos is one of the first ever Eternals to walk the Earth. However, his ideals clash with the ideals of other Eternals, and after a huge war, he was imprisoned, supposedly forever. And when Thanos meets him, it's the greatest thing ever. The first thing out of Uranos' mouth the moment Thanos enters his presence is, "You killed half the universe, boy. 50%? What a lack of commitment. Do something or don't do it." Now, how crazy is that? I know, like, for years, especially when it came to the MCU, destroying half the life in the universe was just like the craziest thing people could think of. And here, Uranos is just supremely unimpressed by it. And this was the first true indication of just how powerful he is. Fast forward, things didn't work out with Thanos leading the Eternals, shocker, and Druig wiggles his way into power. After that, it is discovered that mutants are just humans with deviant genes. So technically, they are deviants, and technically must be wiped out by the Eternals. That's what leads us to the AEX Judgment Day storyline, and ultimately, this marvelous display of power. So in an attempt to greatly weaken the mutant army, Druig offers Uranos 1 hour of freedom, and in that hour he is to go to Uranos, the mutant nation that lives on Mars, and kill as many mutants as he can. Now we pick up back with Uranos basically declaring war on the mutants of Mars. So understand that while Uranos is wildly powerful just in his physical being, he has also amassed a huge arsenal of otherworldly weapons that he can unleash anywhere at any time, just by opening a portal. Quite literally all over Mars, you start seeing portals open up with giant gunships, cannons, spider-like walkers with laser beams, just insane weapons of mass destruction simultaneously unleashed on all of the cities of Mars. This move takes out all the everyday regular mutants, while Uranos is able to freely focus on the Omega level mutants by himself. Now, to show just how powerful this guy is, we're going to break down each of the mutants' powers that he destroys. First up, Uranos, an Omega level mutant who can erase anything she looks at from complete existence. She stares at Uranos with the full power of her weapon, but he walks through completely unfazed, as Aura's powers only work on those who abide by the same laws that she does. But Uranos is an Eternal. The only law he abides by is excess deviation, a task which he fully intends to fulfill today. And in the blink of an eye, he opens a portal, unleashing a deadly robotic fist that damages the eye of Uranos and dispatches her immediately. Next up is Legion, possibly the most powerful being to ever exist and the only true test to Uranos' power. Legion requested the 2 battle in space, and Uranos obliges. Now, to see this fight, we have to transition over to Legion of X Volume 6, where one of the coolest battles I have ever seen takes place. Notable powers of Legion, the son of Charles Xavier, are telepathy, telekinesis, pyrokinesis, chronokinesis, shapeshifting, teleportation, and superhuman strength. And considering how Uranos wasn't immediately defeated by Legion, it's safe to assume that he obtains or is immune to all of these powers in some form or fashion. And we get an indication of that as for the next 10 seconds, the 2 engage in a psychic battle that lasts for eons within their minds. Legion and Uranos battle thousands of times over in an infinite number of ways, from fisticuffs to battles of music and mind, even a Yo Mama battle. Or at least that's what I imagine a pun-off is. Ultimately, the two come to the realization that if both of them were to actually fight, they will completely wipe each other from existence. But in a moment of tact, Uranos is able to catch Legion while he's distracted and proceeds to rip him apart atom by atom until Legion is saved by Vox Ignis Banshee, leaving Uranos to continue his destruction on the planet. When Uranos returns to Mars, he's immediately attacked by Lotus Logos and Magneto. This in itself is an insanely OP combination, as Lotus Logos has the power to create and manipulate infinite amounts of metal of various different properties, and Magneto is the OG master of metal. No one in the universe can use metal to the extent Magneto can. Together, they encase Uranos in the strongest metal they can conjure, but alas, this is no match for the Eternal. He easily breaks free and proceeds to punch Magneto through the chest and rips out his heart. Magneto falls, and the hope for Uranos falls with him. What happens next really starts to bring Uranos' power to scale. Now, do you guys remember that scene in Infinity War when all the heroes are fighting Thanos on Titan and they pull off this extremely coordinated attack to only make him bleed from the mouth, and then Thanos says,
"All that for a drop of blood."
Uranos has this moment, but scale it by 1,000. Cable pulls out an Omega Pulse Rifle. Keep in mind, this is a weapon that in the year 3877 will be outlawed as a weapon of absolute destruction because it can quite literally destroy anything it's fired upon. Well, Cable fires it at full blast for 3 full minutes on Uranos, and the only thing it manages to do is make him bleed from the mouth. He smiles and opens a portal next to Cable's head, unleashing a weapon that completely melts Cable's face. Remember, Uranos only has an hour to kill as many mutants as he can on Mars, and he's already taken out 5 Omega level mutants, and it's only been 17 minutes. For the next 40 minutes, Uranos continues his destruction, taking out mutants the likes of Zillow and Abigail Brand, until he stands amidst a mountain of ash and bone. He uses the remaining time he has to admire his accomplishments, but his hubris keeps him from checking his work. And when his hour is over, he leaves. And that, my friends, is the time Uranos destroyed 98% of mutant life on Mars. But remember, at the beginning of the video, I said that we'd be covering 2 marvelous displays of power. Amidst the bodies, 3 important mutants remain alive: Lotus Logos, or Sarada, and last but not least, Magneto. This man survived having his heart ripped out by one of the most unkillable beings in the galaxy, and he does it by using the iron in his blood to keep blood pumping throughout his body even though he doesn't have a heart. And that is without question a marvelous display of power.